Okay. Participants can now see what I'm doing. Okay, good. Okay, so some of you have seen my layout. I got a couple of slides at the end that I'll show you because I have made some progress on the Farmington to Strong part. And I always had this line, I always wanted to model the F&M. So what you see in the front of you with the Code 100 track, that's temporary, but that's the bridge that's going to be a duck under to get to Kingfield. And the back of this building is my idea, the back of Forster's. And you can see I was able to shoestring a siding in there so I can deliver birch and hardwoods to the toothpick factory. And that's just before this imaginary crossing, which crosses the main line.
To be clear, through the backdrop is the rest of Strong and the F&M. We're looking at the F&M entering Strong if we follow straight down this line and through the backdrop.
Right. Thanks, David. And then the line crossing is going towards Phillips, which is a staging yard for me. I just can't put it all in. All right. Let's see. All right, so here we are at the other end of the duck under. And this is the junction switch. And you can see, I mean, I really had to piecemeal this in and get it to work right. But, you know, I was persistent and did it. I'll tell you this. I went to a show and I was able to pick up, about 8 packs of microengineering On30 track. And I thought, oh, this is great. I'll just knock off Kingfield. I can tell you right now, I much would have preferred to hand lay this. It would have gone faster and it would have been smoother. And the reason is because the Kapler ties and the Mount Albert ties are way thicker than the microengineering ties. So you're floating the microengineering up in the air unless you structure it in some way to get support underneath it. So not a big deal, but it was a bit of a pain in the neck. So what you see to the left is my old sawmill from my OM3 logging days. And I'm going to use that to represent the Jenkins and Bogart sawmill. So this is the line. I don't know. Can you see the cursor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the line to Carabasset. This is the line to the sawmill siding. And this is the line back to the wing mill, back behind the coal dock on the coal bins. And this is the main line going into Kingfield. Okay, so I mocked up for you just some representative structures for the coal bin. There obviously has to be a section house here, and I'm forced to put the water crane right about here. There's enough room to get it in there, but it's not prototypical, but it's pretty close. Oops, wrong way.
You could put it on the duck under, Tom.
What's that?
You could put that on the duck under.
Water crane right there.
I could put it on the duck under, but you know, yeah, I could. It just looks hokey right now. You know, I'll play with it though. Believe me, you know me, David. I'll play with it. So, coal bin, got to invent a little structure to cover the outlet in the back there. So this is the main line going into Kingfield. Top view. The interesting thing is, you know, we had some discussion last time about the inevitable building of a tank farm. And I may do it right in here. The issue is, am I going to model this post Carabasset or, you know, just leave it going to the screen as Carabasset? I may have to build a turnout either here or here to go into the tank farm because we all talked about maybe they had gasoline deliveries. Still going the wrong way. Okay, so now we're coming around the curves and now the inevitable Kingfield scene starts to come together. These are the three windmill backups, mock-ups against the wall. And this is representative of the 3-story, but this is a 2-story. This is the 3-story Jenkins and Bogart mill, which probably would be better off back here somewhere. But this is already like 34 inches wide. So I'm struggling with this because if we're going to operate, and my envisioning in building this layout was to have a couple of guys over for operations. If I position the Bogart mill here, this is the main finishing mill. It's going to be tough to, uncouple cars because I use swizzle sticks. So actually, the mill sat pretty far back. So it may be that I just fill this area with the inevitable sheds that were filled with boards and
Lumber.
sticks for the mill. So this.
Now, would those have been birch billets, or would they have just been hardwood?
No, well, it depends on what well, this was a novelty mill. So it definitely wouldn't have been softwoods. So I would think it would be birch, maybe poplar. I'm not sure. I can't find that anywhere. Anyway, this is the traditional scene looking all the way down into Kingfield. My camera didn't pick it all out, but obviously the windmill's over here. And this is the switch into the passing siding and the siding that went in to serve Jenkins and Bogart. Okay, so now a little bit better picture. Number 5 is on the siding. There's the spur. This is an old building that I had. I just popped it in there to be representative of all. There's a whole myriad of interesting looking buildings, as we know in Kingfield, that are much closer to the track than the finishing mill. Finishing mill set back, at least 100, 200 feet. But there's a whole cluster of nice looking buildings that'll fit in all along this space. And those were the finishing and handling or whatever else they did up there. So I'll probably concentrate on filling this area with smaller buildings. Here's the end track for the windmill. And this is another shot of behind the behemoth finishing mill. Okay, now we're coming into the station area. This building on the right is one of the last buildings of the Jenkins and Bogart. I think it's called the store, and it had a neat roof, and I can fit that in there. It's still a big building. It's interesting. I've been trying to size. I've been using the plans in Jensen's books, and I can't, in 22 feet, I just can't model these buildings full size. So I've taken some liberties. If they were 100 feet, maybe I made them 80. If they were 25 feet wide, maybe I made them 20. But they look okay. I mean, they look sizable to me. So you see here, we're coming into the station area. I'm going to try to model the original station. Again, it's a little bit narrower and it's a little bit shorter. This is the shed that supposedly at the end the snowplow might have fit in. And you see this is the Portland kit, and I can't position it where I want to position it against the engine house. So I'm thinking I'm either going to have to position it this way or cut the front off, which cutting the front off would make a damn good scene.
You mean cutting the front off or cutting the back off? So you can just put it straight against the backdrop.
Well, yeah, no. Cutting the front off and putting it against it. You're right. Were you an English teacher? Grammar?
Just trying to make sure everyone understands.
Yeah.
It might just be better just to scratch build a new front.
Yeah, and then I can put this building on the shelf with the other buildings I've built. So here's looking back the other way at the end of the Jenkins and Bogart, a little bit of the yard, the windmill. Now we're getting right into it. There's the covered station. the spur into the turntable. I haven't roughed that in yet.
Let me
And
just
there's
say,
a cart.
don't compress the door to the covered depot. So you can't make it any shorter, or the locos won't go in it.
No. I already ran the Gary's kit for the F&M combine, and that worked out okay. But
Check
you're
out
right.
the locos because the locomotives have taller stacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't ask Chris how we know.
I'll bet we know. So there's the pump house right by the side of the floor plan for the engine house. I cut that a little small, but now I seem to think I've got room. So I may be able to do that full size. Turntable will be in here. I still have the kit for the gallows turntable, and I've got the brass spider. And I may be tempted to do the original or the first or the second turntable, but the iconic turntable, of course, is that girder. And I don't know, one way or another, I'll get a turntable in there.
Do the gallows
Build them all.
strong.
Build them all, and then you can just drop in whichever one.
Oh yeah, like Bob Bennett. Yeah, Bob Bennett does that. Drops in a new station.
They should be exactly the same length, so why not?
Well, you're right, and they're built above. They're built above ground level.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
They should have the same track height. Everything should be the same. I think it's the same base. The main central just put the girders on top. Gary Kohler may have a better comment on that, but I think they just put the girders on top and replaced the truss rods.
Yeah. I think that's the way I read it. And then we're coming to the end. That building at the end is the Albion Engine House, which finds a space to represent. So this is what I've got left for the mill.
The winter store.
Yeah, the winter store, and it's 14 inches to here. I could cut this track back a little bit, but the
Have
mill.
you got Gary's kit for the winter store?
What's that?
Are you going to be using Gary's kit for the winter store?
Well, Gary and I talked about it a little bit. It's a big kit, and it's a big kit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I've got the HO version that he put out, and it's
a
pretty
lot of work.
extensive.
But if I put it in, it'll be the signature building. None of my buildings are, anywhere near that. And to do the interior would be phenomenal. So this is where the layout ended about a month ago. And then you see this extension. This was after I talked to Gary. So I'm halfway over the sink. There's a slop sink back here underneath.
You don't need that sink.
No, well, I got half of it. I can still use it. So that's the proposal for Kingfield.
Make a drop down. You can go right out into the into the driveway.
Just to get that damn kid in. You're right.
Well, because you want to look at the front door, so you got to get rid of the backdrop. The backdrop needs to swing open and closed.
Yeah. So here it is, looking the other way. And I try to. My philosophy has always been, since I started this railroad, I want to look at a picture in one of the great books that were published, and I want to be able to replicate it on the layout so that anybody who's read the books can go, oh, I know where this is. Now, the problem is I don't have operators here. The only guys I have here to operate are N-scale Pennsy mainliners, HO guys that have no idea what I'm doing. So
you don't need friends like that.
That's right. So this is just representative of how I'm doing my work. And who am I thanking? Chris, am I thanking you, or am I thanking Jeff for this book?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yep. I'm glad you're getting use out of it.
Oh, believe me, I'm getting, as you can see. This is the Bible. I carry this around with me in the house and go, could I, should I? So this is what I'm basing it on. And you can see, here's that novelty mill, and you can see how far back it is from the tracks. But the other buildings would fit nicely in. And I can fill the rest with these sheds, the stock sheds. For the
Didn't the novelty mill have like a chute going down to the tracks?
no, the wing mill
That was
up
the way
here
yeah.
had a chute, and I'll model that went down and went into the loaded boxcars. I still haven't figured out, the chute comes from the second story, and the chute itself is way high up in the window of the second story. So it's like, is somebody standing on a box shooting down these bundles of spools and bobbins and chair rails, etc.? I don't know. But you got to have that chute.
It's like my barrel roll in
Yeah.
At the apple canning plant.
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Yeah.
So the novelty mill was not directly served by the railroad.
No, it was. This was their spur, and they took in all their birch, poplar, and it filled these stock sheds. So
Okay.
this mill, the Jenkins and Bogart mill, didn't take in, not that I can see, it looks like it didn't take in birch bolts, which are 4 foot. It looks like somebody sawed it, and maybe that's what the Jenkins and Bogart mill at the other end of Kingfield is, on the F&M or on the K&DR. They may have been sawing logs into billets, and then moving them here. And the novelty mill was a spinning mill. So chair rungs, ladder rungs, and small stuff. And then it would go into the, here's the paint shop. So they were painting stuff too. And all that stock was sitting in these sheds, aging. So I may not be able to fit the mill in, but I'll certainly make it look like something's going on there with wood.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get a shed in, you don't really need the mill.
Right. I mean, otherwise you have to go over it to uncouple, and that, I can tell that's going to be a nightmare.
Well, it also
this
makes
is-
the scene look really compressed and
Yeah.
tight. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's required, but if
Well, no, I don't think so either. Unless I was going to put one of those extensions on a shelf just for photography, but that's a long way off. I'm not worried about that.
Well, the other thing is it lets you model the road or the path through there, and you can have a wagon or something moving goods around inside the mill, and there's a lot of activity you can show.
Yep, absolutely. So here's some slides of what I've done before, and a lot of this
Transfer
stuff,
shed, Farmington.
some of this stuff is new. So this is highly compressed. There's the freight house, transfer shed, and this represents the line that went behind the building where the D&H boxcar rammed into the boxcar carrying somebody's furniture. And it also curved real close to the fuel depot on the standard gauge. So that's where we got all those cool ideas from. And this is representative of what you see in the books. There's the freight house. They had to cut that and compress it. And this is why I need good backdrops, Dan, because I'm tired of doing this. It looks okay, but there was a big town behind this. This is the coal. I forget who owned it, but it had that neat closed chute system. And here's number 8 of my railroad getting ready to pull out. And you see my attempts at the standard gauge. And I always like this car hasn't moved in a while because there's a picture at the end of an Erie boxcar and the Sandy River boxcar sitting out in front of it. And there's a guy right in here with a horse and wagon, and he's taking stuff out of the boxcar. And I always remember the Erie boxcar was right behind it. It's just another view the other way. You can see the transfer shed in the background.
That's nice.
And that's a little bit of the standard gauge over the crossings.
So do you just stage standard gauge stuff on the tracks for
Yeah,
transfer?
I don't have any powered.
Yeah.
And this curve would be okay for trolleys, but not for anything else. I mean, this is only 30 inches wide.
Yeah.
It looks okay when you're standing there looking at it. It's compressed, but if you've read the books and looked at the pictures, you know what's going on.
Yeah. 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 It's like everything I do is compressed. It has to be.
Yeah, has to be. There's the mill, granary. That's the coal.
I've always wondered the function in that coal facility.
Yeah,
If they shoveled it from the cars into an elevator and the elevator took it up and then dumped it down that chute into bins or what. I've been looking at that for years trying to figure out how that thing worked.
well,
Because I've seen it like that in other places too.
in Jerry's books, I think these were boarded up later, but they were originally shovel chutes into these bins. And then later they put a door in here, and they put a link belt conveyor, which went to the top. And I think probably they were at least maybe they were getting pea coal, stoker coal, nut coal, and maybe there was a way of putting it in different bins here, because this coal dealer was a retail dealer.
Yeah.
So he just took in from Main Central, and they took it in gondolas because there was no reason to bring a hopper in there. They brought it in hoppers and gondolas.
Yeah.
And this is my version of the mill just outside of Farmington. Estes Brothers. So they're getting bolts. Yeah. They're bringing them in this side door. This is a building from an old layout. Used to be West Virginia Logging. But I was able to build this, and it gives me a good representation of what it is. And that's just a shot of scenery going down towards the Barker Stream Bridge.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I did the fence that way because, at least I did that part. But, those fences are everywhere.
Yeah, that's something I got to add to mine at some point.
Yeah.
Love that bridge.
Yeah, that's the bridge. And then because I'm coming in as strong at this point, and I built the B&M corn plant, I figured I'll make that a cornfield. And I'll put a tractor and stuff in that shed. Hopefully it doesn't flood. But
is that JTT corn?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So this is a little bit of fantasy. This spur is coming off right near where the bridge was. It goes to the Albion Potato House, which I've said, okay, Al has a potato house on his Sandy River. I can have a potato house. And then this is a structure from my old railroad. It was called South Troy, and I'll build South Strong and put that here. So now we're coming in as Strong, and I've been playing around with these black and white photos from the internet. These are Maine homes. I print them and glue them onto quarter-inch thick black foam. And I just kind of press them against the backdrop, and yeah, they do what they do. So this is a shot of my version of the barrel rollover.
I would have noticed it if you didn't say it.
What was that?
The house, you know, the
Oh,
print
yeah.
house. I would have
Yeah.
noticed it if you didn't say it.
Yeah. Well, the rollover is it. Then we noticed too, these were actually conveyors. So they worked, they rolled. And then you see how I lift my coal loads or my pulp loads out of my cars is by hiding a star drill bit and painting them the color of the pulp, not this one. Then I just hang a magnet over it and lift it out.
Are they bamboo logs?
No, they're just twigs that I get here in South Carolina. It's not bamboo though. It looks like there's a hole in them, but it's not. It's actually, I guess, sapwood.
So your whole load comes out?
Yeah. I mean, for operations, I want to be able to, once they take the pulpwood into the upper yard in Farmington, I want to be able to continue the operation and pull those cars out. So it's tough. It's tough because you got to hang on to the car so it doesn't derail. And then you got to lift the load out. And then this is the scene, shows the end of the barrel rollover. But I noticed in some pictures that they were always loading pulp along any side track so that they could load it and move it out. This is my representation of the coal bin and strong. Turntable, coal bin.
I like the field stone that you'd put in there next to the
yeah.
coal bin.
Well, that was when I was starting to think about a little bit more than just plopping buildings down. So
Yeah.
I thought I'll just do some scenery.
Grass looks good too.
My station. The Longview Inn. There's the freight house. Got to a little house that I have back there. Come into the yard in Strong. There's my house, your house, my house. And it's just on a foam core. It's just placeholder in there. And there you see the line to the F&M, which I've got a scenic and get that all in. That's the back, the front edge, side edge of the toothpick mill. And then Daggett and Will. So Daggett and Will, big building. I think I did it 32 by 80 maybe. I try to get as big as I could on it. Creamery. I did it in this color. And then a much condensed version of the toothpick warehouse. And this is the crossing, I guess, Main Street. There should be a big hill here and houses here, but can't do that. And this is the bridge. Dinky Creek, or no, what is it?
Dickey's? No,
Dickey.
not Dickey's.
Yeah, I was thinking
Is it
Dinky Creek is an old SS Limited.
It's just Dickey Underpass,
Dickey Underpass.
Dickey Road Underpass.
So here you see, this is where we started off. This is the back of the mill. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll pull this mill all the way over to here. And then when I build the actual toothpick mill, I'll make sure that they can get close enough to look reasonable. I'm not worried about the roof lines. It just is what it is. And I can cover it with some scenery.
Yeah.
And this is just a little bit of a scene going into staging. So this is the line from Strong going to Phillips. And Phillips to me now is a staging yard. I've got 6 tracks. And I went and built a transfer table that I can
Ah.
spin.
Ah, look at that.
So I'm using rail joiners to hook it up, then it gets power. Then there's enough room here to pull it away, swivel it, go to a different track. So from an operations standpoint, this is where I'll be operating. I'll run everything north of Phillips, and I'll just get trains ready to head to Farmington or to Kingfield. And then how do you get there? Well, you come into the garage, you use this jury stick to hold up this end of the Farmington yard. I've got to put another brace under there. And then this is the path. This is about 5 feet, 48 inches deep. So it's a true duck under, and it's doable. And then at that point, and David, this is the area that is icky, and I've got to decide what I want to do there. As it is right now, it's just plain plywood. But you're right, the switch is right on it. And the junction is a cool spot. So maybe I do a little bit more work here and flesh this out. I could even cut this back and build this out a little bit more now that I know it works. And I think that's it for me. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. The really neat thing is I'm at a point now where I've been in this house 4 years. I don't need to touch another spike or a piece of flex track. I mean, it's all other than replacing this code 100 with 83 flex track, which I'll do.
What size is your layout room?
Well, the garage is 22 by maybe 22, maybe 22 by 24. And the door is right in the middle. So, I actually at one point had a complete lift out for Farmington, which was very much better because, the freight house goes to about here. So I had this lift out, but then when people came late to an op session, they had to crawl under it I just cut it back.